You have probably taken an IQ test at some point, maybe in school, maybe just for fun online. But there is another number that predicts your success far better, and most people have never even measured it. It's called emotional intelligence, or EQ for short, emotional quotient. And here's the wild part. Your IQ is basically locked in by the time you are a teenager, but your EQ, they can grow your entire life. So what actually is emotional intelligence? At its core, it's your brain's ability to notice feelings as they show up and then do something useful with them. To understand why this matters so much, you have to understand how your brain is wired. Every single thing you experience hits the base of your brain first. It passes through the limbic system, the emotional center, before it ever reaches the prefrontal cortex, the part that thinks logically. In other words, you feel before you think every time, no exceptions. And we are not talking about the occasional emotional moment. The average person has around 400 emotional experiences a day. 400. But here's the problem. Only about 36% of people can actually name what they are feeling in that moment, which means most of us are just letting our emotions drive the bus without even realizing we handed over the wheel. So back in 1990, two psychologists, John Mayer and Peter Salovey, decided to break this down properly. They identified four core skills that make up emotional intelligence. The first is perceiving emotion. That's your ability to read emotion in a face, a voice, even in yourself. The second is using emotions, basically getting your heart and your head to work together, channeling a mood into something productive like solving a problem. The third is understanding emotions, knowing how feelings connect to each other and how they shift and evolve over time. And the fourth is managing emotions, regulating what you feel and influencing what other people around you feel. So, so you don't end up acting impulsively. Now here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just some soft skill for self-help books. It has a measurable dollar value. Research shows people with high EQ earn on average $37,000 more a year than people with low EQ. Let that sink in. And it's not just about individual salaries. Leaders with high EQ set the emotional tone for an entire company. A short-tempered manager can quietly poison a culture until the best people just start walking out the door. Interestingly, EQ tends to peak somewhere in middle management, but the CEOs who actually succeed long term, they are the ones who kept their emotional intelligence high the whole way up. They are not just managing the business, they are watering the tree. Now let's talk about relationships because this is where EQ might matter most of all. At the heart of it is empathy, actually trying to see the world through somewhere else's eye. And here's something people get wrong constantly. A good relationship isn't one without conflict. It's one where people know how to handle conflict. People with high emotional quotient don't run from disagreements. They repair things. They find the compromise because they can actually sense what their partner is feeling. Communication matters too, but not just talking, listening, really listening. That's what builds trust. And that's what stops small misunderstandings from turning into resentment. And here's an advanced one. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is choose not to prove you right. Winning the argument is not the same as winning the relationship. So now the big question, Can you actually get better at this? I would say yes. Absolutely yes. Here's where to start. First, name your emotions. Just labeling what you feel, frustration, anxiety, sadness, gives you power over it. Second, try this little exercise. When someone irritates you, ask yourself why. A lot of the time, what annoys us in other people is a reflection of something in ourselves. Third, manage your anxiety on purpose. Figure out what's actually triggering it. Breathe, sleep properly, eat properly. These aren't small things. They are emotional regulation tools. Fourth, practice gratitude. It sounds simple, but shifting your focus toward what you are grateful for can lower your stress hormone cortisol by up to 23%. And finally, get honest feedback. Because the way we see ourselves is almost a little skewed. Sometimes you need someone else to hold up the mirror. At the end of the day, emotional intelligence is about building a stronger connection between the part of your brain that feels and the part that thinks. And every time you lean into an uncomfortable feeling instead of running from it, you are rewiring that connection.